Hey folks, in this interview, we're talking about making smarter slideshows and smarter albums with Daniel Usenko.
This is Twitter.
Hey folks, welcome back to This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson. Today I'm joined by Daniel Usenko. He's the co-founder and the chief operating officer of a company called Pixellu, and they make some software called SmartAlbums and SmartSlides, and I think some other things that may be on the horizon. Hopefully we're gonna talk about the future of the company. But Daniel's here to talk about the slideshow space and the album space and the cloud space and how things are changing for photographers. Daniel, welcome to the show, man. How are you doing?
Hey, nice to see you. Nice to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to see you as well. We've been trying to do this interview forever. So now, now you guys went through a launch and, the software is out there in the wild. And how's it going? Are people enjoying it?
Yeah, no, it's been good. We've been around now in November, it'll be 6 years since we launched SmartAlbums, the first version. So, yeah, it's been quite a ride for sure.
Wow. Well, we got a ton of questions for you on that. Specifically, I want to talk about the competitive landscape for you, what the software is, who's it for, what problems does it solve, and all that. Before we do that, I want to, you mentioned you've been around for 6 years. Give us, for the people that may not have heard of the company, but how did it start? Why did it start? What was the entrepreneur problem that you guys were attempting to solve?
Yeah, I've been shooting weddings since I was a 16-year-old kid, so wow. It's been a really long time, and I'm soon to turn 35 here. So I've been in the industry for a really long time. I started actually when it was still film days. I was learning film back then, and I just had a lot of, I guess, back then, photography insight. I was teaching workshops, I was traveling, I was talking to a lot of photographers. And at the same time, I had a friend who was a programmer, a developer, and he said, hey, I have some ideas about some cool apps that we can build, and you seem like you have a hold on marketing and photography. Let's do this together. And so that was in 2010, so nine years ago, and yeah, we had an idea back then. It was like an iPad app where you could basically create a design that looked like a printed book, and you would flip the pages on the iPad, and that was actually when the iPad just came out. It was iPad 1. But we made the app. We spent like 2 years making the app, and we showed it to a lot of photographers. They loved it, but apparently not enough to pay us any money. So we had one customer the entire time.
One customer
from Saudi Arabia, out of all places. I don't know why or how that happened. She was very upset when we told her we are closing the app down.
Wow.
But with that, we realized that the bigger problem is not necessarily showing the album on an iPad, but actually creating it. And because in order for it to be prepared for the iPad, we had to go through a similar process of putting the images on the page and making sure they're all lined up and they all look good together. And back then, most photographers used either Photoshop or InDesign. And in order to upload to our app, you also had to use InDesign. And we thought that our project, we didn't have any customers because the process of creating that album for the iPad app was too difficult. So we're like, oh, we should have a companion app that you can use to make the layouts. That would be really, really easy. And so that was the beginning of SmartAlbums. And as we were making SmartAlbums, we realized that there is a big problem, not just an iPad app design, but making a design for wedding and portrait photographers for books and albums to be printed. Because this is also the time where they're called flush mount books, whereas the old school albums, you would have basically openings on a page and you would slip pictures in there. But the new modern albums, which were becoming popular, you'd have a entire page that was a whole print. And for these albums, for Flushman albums, you needed to create a design. And so we thought, oh, SmartAlbums would be a great help here as well to help photographers create printed albums. And so when we launched it in November 2013, it was for the printed albums, and it really, really exploded and changed the industry, because something that used to take in Photoshop days and InDesign probably a whole day, now with SmartAlbums you can make in 15 minutes. And yeah, after that we grew from 3 people back then to now over 30 people.
Wow.
So it's been quite a ride, yeah.
Wow! Congratulations, man. That sounds
Thanks,
fantastic. That sounds like the ultimate sort of. I'm in Silicon Valley for the most part, but the ultimate sort of Silicon Valley story of guy has an issue, guy solves the issue. Turns out people like the solution and buy it, and the company grows, right?
Yeah, except we didn't have Silicon Valley money. We had to finance it ourselves. That's the big difference.
Oh, yeah. Well, I want to dive into both of these, so SmartAlbums and SmartSlides. So just before we do that, from your perspective, how has the industry changed, in terms of what they want? So you mentioned going from sort of slip-in prints and the evolution into the full page being a print, which necessitated doing layout and design and all that. Have you, sitting where you're sitting, have you seen a shift away from printing and into more online sharing through Facebook and that sort of thing? Or is it equal growth on both the physical atom side of the business and electron side of the business?
Yeah, great question. I've definitely seen a shift toward more just shoot and burn and weekend warriors type of approach, where photography has become, wedding photography has become a secondary job in a lot of cases. But those who try to make it their full-time business and their full-time thing, they realize that in order to make it a full-time business, they have to make as much money on each client as possible, because clients, they're limited. There are a lot of photographers. I'm sure every photographer watching this will say, oh my gosh, my market is so saturated. It's so hard to make it. And it's been a lot easier. 10 years ago, it was a lot easier. And so with more photographers, everybody gets fewer clients, fewer bride and fewer portrait clients. So you have to find ways to maximize the amount of money you make from each individual client. And prints, albums are a really, really great way of doing that, because clients want them. Most clients want them. It's just a matter of price. And by saving, with SmartAlbums, by saving time on design, you essentially can lower the price tag of the album. Back in the day, 15 years ago, most photographers would tell you, oh, you have to charge something like $2,000 to $3,000 per album, which sounds kind of insane right now for a typical wedding. I mean, a typical bride is not going to pay, again, a typical bride is not going to pay $3,000 for an album, because she knows she can probably find something online that may not be as great, Shutterfly or Blurb. It may not be as great, but she can get something done for $200 or $100.
Yeah.
And so SmartAlbums allowed photographers to make albums fast, allowing them to lower that price tag, because now they can afford to charge less for albums and still make a really good profit.
Yeah, and that's it's interesting you say that, because in that bride and that $3,000 album scenario may look at that, and depending, like you said, the average, right? They're high end and lower end or whatever, but on average, if you're just starting your life with someone, that extra $2,800 or $2,700 could mean a rent payment or or dishes for the house or diapers or something like that, right? So it's an equation that people have to make based on their own budgets. That's interesting though, because I would have thought, not being a wedding photographer, I would have thought that the the rise of online and the proliferation of devices like, these amazingly capable phones and tablets and computers and all that stuff, that most people would want to consume that kind of information digitally or from the cloud. And you're saying people still want the physical, right?
They do, and I think that it's ingrained in people's minds that their parents had an album, and their parents, before that, their grandparents had an album, and there is something special about an album and a book. It's hard to, if you just talk about it, it's just a print. It doesn't seem like that valuable. But when you hold a beautiful book in your hands, it feels like an heirloom. The fact that the images that are in those pages are the very, very best ones. They're curated, because you're not going to be sharing 1,000 images with your friends. If you are, they're going to hate you for it. But an album, it feels special. I mean, people do print. Yes, not everyone, and maybe not a lot of prints, but people do print images. Like when my wife and I, we went on a trip around the US for 3 weeks. We came back and I wanted to print some images and hang them on my wall because that somehow makes it more valuable. So even though I completely agree that I'm not anti-digital in any way. I think it really has changed the world for the better. But I think that there is something really valuable and special about a physical print. And I think that people still see it, and they still have that respect and value for it. And photographers are right there to make a profit on that book.
Well, let's talk about software now. So,
Sure.
SmartAlbums is what you guys built. That's the software. Take me through that. What was the problem? I know we're going to demo it in just a second. But what was the issue that you were solving with SmartAlbums? And how does the software tackle the issue?
Yeah. Well, like we said, back in the day, you had matted albums, which you slipped photos into openings on the page. And it was very old school. They were very heavy and very big, basically your grandma's album. And then with new technology, they figured out how to print an entire, basically a large photo, print it real large, and then fold it into 2 pages, and then bind it together to have a book of basically prints, right? And in order to maximize the effectiveness of this book, because you could put one image on each print, but people say, oh, what if you wanted like 5 images on a single print? Well, then you need to lay them out. You need to make sure that they're the same size or they're somehow lined up. And so basically people went to Photoshop, because that was the tool around, to have a canvas and put several images on that canvas and then line them up, make sure that they're straight and all that, and then that was your print basically. And that process sounds simple when you explain it, but it would take days, because when you have 11 images, some horizontal, some vertical, and you made a design and then sent it to your clients, and they said, oh, I actually don't like these 2 images, please remove them, you would need to redesign the whole thing from scratch. You need to basically have like a degree in geometry on how to fit these images together in a way that they look pleasant. And it just took a really long time. Like people wouldn't offer albums simply because it took so much time. So we made it extremely simple. Like all that process is very, very simple. And I'll show you here in a second on how it works in action. But basically, we made designing a spread with 11 images a matter of half a second is basically what it comes down.
I want to see this. I want to see this. You ready to show and tell?
All right, let's do it.
All right, let's take a look. I'm sharing your screen now, so let's take a look at what we got.
All right, so let's this is a wedding that I photographed a while ago. Let's choose this many images. All right, I don't know how many, 10 images that is. All right, I said 11, so let's go with 11. We're going to choose 11. Now, all we're going to do is drag these images onto the blank canvas, let go, and boom, look at that. We got a design. And
wow,
Yeah. One of my favorite things for a while has been going to trade shows and showing people this for the first time and watching their face. They could not believe what they just saw, especially when you've done this by hand in Photoshop. Like imagine having to, figure out how can I take these images, which we have a mix of horizontals and verticals, and these images that are completely all verticals, and how can I resize it so that both of the sides as a whole are equal, right? So if you put all these images together, this size is equal to this size.
Yeah.
How can I make sure that the spacing is exactly the same everywhere? I mean, it would take you. I don't even know if you'd be able to do it in Photoshop.
And that was just a matter of you uploading images into the system and then or into the software and then dragging them onto the page, and it did all the logic of doing the Tetris, right? Put it all together.
Exactly. Behind the scenes, it's a set of, up to like a million templates, many templates that a human has designed. So all of these designs, they're not just random. They're going to be aesthetically pleasing because an actual human designed these.
Oh.
Now let me show you something even cooler, okay? Let's say that you like this, but we want to make some changes, as everyone will want to do. So let's say that this image, the large one here on the side, on the left side, let's say that we think that these flowers would be a better spot for it. So we can just drag it and switch the images just like that. Really, really simple. Now, let's say that I'm not a fan of this design for whatever reason. Maybe whatever the reason is, I can just go up top here and click Next and see different versions of designs with my images here.
Oh, wow. And it's only playing with those images that you dragged in, right?
Only those, yep. And the example that I gave before, let's say that you send this design to your clients and they come back and say, I like this, but I have no idea why, these two images matter here. I want to get rid of them. So what you can do as a designer is just simply select them and drag them out of the design, and SmartAlbums will automatically redesign the page without those two. And you don't have to do all of the logic that it requires for you to redesign the thing. And as before, you can again click Next and see what else we have for that.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, and same way we can add images too. So we can drag images that let's say that we decided, hey, I forgot about this image, or the bride said, hey, I really like this image, please add it to design. We can do the same. We can just add it to design, and it will just reshuffle the images, and we have a new design for us.
Now, what if the person that's creating the album, like the photo, one of the photos they don't like, can they just select it and delete it out of there, and will it reflow?
Yeah. So you mean if, let's say, we don't like this one?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we just drag it out, and it'll redesign the page.
Oh wow.
And let's say that we want more changes, because as we know, brides can be very picky, and they can come back and say, all right, so let's say that we choose these images. Again, we're going to drag them on to the blank canvas, let go, and see a design. And let's say that this, let's say that this is the design that we ended up sending to the bride. And the bride comes back and says, hey, I really like this, but I would like you to take advantage of this white space because I'm paying for all these pages. I want to maximize the print. Mm-hmm. So can you make the image on the right bigger? And so what we can do is we can just double click on this page, and we're going to enter something called the designer view, which essentially is like the Photoshop view where you can design freehand. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this image, and with the help of smart guides, we're going to put this image and make it the entire area of the page. And on the right here, we can also reposition the image where it's located on the page. And then what's really cool is if we like this design and we feel like it's something that we should use in the future, instead of redesigning it from scratch every time, we can even save it as a template by clicking here. And then when we come back, not only do we have this design made, whenever we, in the future, use 3 verticals and 1 horizontal like here, let's say that we have this 3 verticals and 1 horizontal, SmartAlbums is smart enough to use the design that you've made in the past, because it knows that as a photographer, if you've designed this template, it means that you prefer it over others, and it's going to prioritize it. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, in this case, it's cutting off too many people. We're not going to do that. So we might use a different image. Maybe that one will be better. There we go. So what SmartAlbums basically does is, not only does it give you the free, quick designs that you want, you can just throw in some images and you got yourself a design. Click next, see what else is available.
That's crazy. I love that.
But also, you can do whatever you want freehand if you really, really want to. Like if this is, if this is your style, you want this, you got it. You can make it happen. So basically, it's the best of both worlds, really.
Now, are you able to like not that you'd want to do this, but are you able to change the background color or anything on the background?
Absolutely. Let's make it a nice magenta color. Boom.
There you go.
Right, and,
you just increased the value of that album by 100%.
Oh, I think I didn't save it there. Yes, so we got a nice color there, and we can even go and get it even more radical here. Maybe add some borders. Maybe like a nice border with a nice, I don't know, what do we got here? These color slides, like a cyan. Boom. Beautiful design. All right, let's get rid of it before it hurts our eyes.
Yeah, I don't know, is it part of the app that you can actually maybe put a photo back there? Like if you did like a landscape and you wanted to overlay pictures on top of that?
Let's actually do that. So there's a few ways of doing it. Let's find a photo that would work well as a background. Let's say this car. So when we're dragging it, if we drag it to this, there's a little icon there right in the middle. What it's going to do is let's actually get rid of these borders. They're super annoying. Just give it 0. So what it did is basically now when I click next, I'm going to see designs that are made specifically for the background there. So something like that seems nice. And then I would say appropriately, what we can do is we can choose the spread and actually make this black for the background, and then lower the opacity of that background image, and it's going to be something, let's say, like that. And obviously, I'm probably not going to put the bridesmaids and groomsmen there, but maybe we can do that and that and that.
Yeah, nice.
And that maybe. But yeah, basically, as you see, it's fast. It's a lot faster than you can do what you can do in Photoshop.
And you're not doing any what part of this app is in the cloud and what part is local, or is this the whole thing a locally run app?
So this is all locally run because the images photographers use are large, and we want to make sure that it works fast. So all of this is done on your computer, but part of the package that you can get is there is a cloud proofing option, which essentially is a tool that allows you to send the design directly from SmartAlbums to your client, and your client will look at the design in the cloud, will be able to make comments, suggestions, etc. on the design, and then you as the photographer will see these comments right inside of SmartAlbums, so that, say, when the feedback comes in, when you are editing, say, this design, on the right you'll see comments directly about this design so that you can make those images, those designs to whatever liking your client has.
That's really cool. So you can do collaborative sort of changes and things like that. That is really slick. So then, last question before we move on to Smart Slides, unless there's something else you want to show, is the exporting. So, are we? What's the next step once you have the album where you want it? Are we sending it? Are we creating a PDF that then I have to upload to a lab? Are you connected directly to labs, or do I get a stack of JPEGs? Like, what does it look like?
Great question. So when you begin your album, which is the step that I skipped, you can choose whether to use a lab that is in our system, which we have many labs, almost 200 labs in our system. And what we have done, we have been in communication with these labs all over the world, all of the biggest ones that you can think of, and we got their measurements and their specs for their albums, because one of the problems was and is that every lab has very specific specifications for how the pages need to be made. There are certain requirements for trim, bleed, etc. And if you get it wrong, they may misprint the album. The crease may end up being on somebody's face, or part of the photo that is important might get cut off, etc. So what we've done is we got all of the correct specs so that all you have to do is simply choose the company that you want, let's say Dream Books Pro, then choose one of the books that they offer, the size, and then choose the type of album. In this case, there's only one. And then we figure out all the measurements for it. Or you can enter the measurements manually if you really want it. Now, and then as you're designing, the album is automatically made to the specifications of whatever lab you chose.
Wow.
And then the next step would be to design and then proof with the bride, and then export the album. And as you export, we look out for you, and we want to make sure that the album, again, is going to be printed correctly. And in this case, SmartAlbums is telling me that one of the images is upscaled, which is another way of saying that when you print it, you might see pixels on the print. And so you can actually go to the spread that has a problem. Oh, we see that the background image has this little icon. And if we hover over it, it's going to tell us the image is being upscaled to 124%. And this is something that you may choose to correct. In my opinion, 124 is not a problem. You're not going to see an issue with the print. But having said that, some photographers care a lot about the quality of the print for good reason. And so we help them not waste hundreds of dollars by printing something and then them not being happy about it.
Yeah.
In this case, we're going to skip or ignore this warning. And then the next thing is going to tell us actually Red Tree Albums, the book that we're designing for, they have a minimum number of pages that you must have, 8 in this case, and so I'm going to ignore the limitation here as well. And so now I can export to cloud proofing, as I've said before, to show the bride design, or we can export for print, and here we can choose from any of these formats. So JPEG is most of the time print labs are going to want JPEGs. In some cases, it might be a PDF. And if you want to do more work on the design, you can export to Photoshop or InDesign, which gives you unlimited flexibility.
Does it export as layers into?
It does. It does.
Wow. Okay.
It does.
Cool.
And then IDML format would be in my opinion, an even better format, because there is. Well, InDesign is made for publishing. There is a lot that InDesign can do, and including exporting to various Adobe formats. And so this is also a very, very useful format. But in this case, we'll just go JPEG. This will show you what the specs are and what the album is. And then once you've exported those pages, the last step is just to go to your print lab and upload those designs, and then you get your book in the mail and you're all set.
Now, if I wanted to say, I'm going to put us back on the screen here. If I wanted to print it myself, say I have a awesome Epson or Canon or whatever printer in the other room, and I want to do everything and handle it myself. Am I able to do that, or are the only options sending it to labs?
No. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you can choose one of the labs that's there, or you can choose a custom size and just type in all the measurements yourself by hand.
Okay.
And then the design.
You can send it out to InDesign if you want, and then print from there, right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Wow, that's really cool. Awesome. All right, you want to bring up the SmartSlides app? I want to see how that works as well. I'm guessing it's pretty similar, right?
Well, it is made by the same people, with the same care, with the same effort.
The same aesthetic.
Yeah, and it's also the later project that we released it ago, and we thought it was going to be a side project. We're like, hey, a lot of people are asking about slideshows, and they're saying, hey, you guys did a great job with albums. Slideshows is what we need. Please create a slideshow software. And we're like, all right, we can do that probably in 3 months, 2 months. Well, it ended up being a 2-year side project.
Oh, wow.
That turned into, because, for slideshows, I've been making slideshows for many years. I mean, I've been a photographer for 15 plus, and I've been making slideshows for many of those years. And I've been doing them in Adobe Premiere, which is a video editing program. And the reason that I've been making slideshows is because if I send a gallery of, a wedding gallery of 1,000 images to a bride, I'm not sure that she's gonna view them in the best possible way. She may get overwhelmed. She may see images of herself that she may think she's fat in, or I don't know. There are a lot of reasons why my clients can get lost in 1,000 images. Yeah. It's overwhelming. With slideshows, what it allows me to do is, similar to blogging, is it allows me to choose the best images, usually around 100 of the best images. And what blogging doesn't do, which slideshows does well, is it allows you to have a layer of music that plays along with the images, so that you can maximize the emotional impact. You can make people laugh and cry, and it's the same reason that music is used in movies, to help the visuals. And as we're making this tool, we realized that the other big problem with slideshows, and the reason that there aren't many, quite honestly, there aren't really other companies out there that do what we do for professionals, is because sourcing really quality music that's appropriate for portrait wedding photography is really expensive. A typical one-time use license is $40, $50. And that's typically not what a photographer would do for every client.
Right.
Whereas we provide really some of the best music out there, completely free, with the sign up to our product. And
Now, are people able to put in, like, if the bride has their own favorite song, is a photographer able to import that MP3 and have this software work with that, or is it only the library that comes with SmartSlides?
Technically, you can upload any music you want.
Yeah, you're responsible for the licensing, right?
Yeah, legally, not so sure about that. Well, I am sure. If legally, it's not right.
Yeah. If you don't own it, you can't use it without a license, right?
Yeah, obviously, when you upload your own song, we make you agree to the fact that it's not an unlicensed song. But it's beyond that. It's as much as we can do there. But we do provide really great options, and most photographers use our music. I don't remember the percentage, but I think it's over 80% use our music, because it is really good. I can show you.
Yeah, let's take a look.
All right. So the values of our product, of our company, and the foundation of what our products are built on, the number one value is simplicity. So when we came to this problem of creating a slideshow software, we wanted to make it as simple as possible because we know that photographers don't have time and we wanted to save time. So to create a slideshow, we'll just click plus and choose the name of our slideshow. We'll call it, usually for weddings, we go by the names. So we'll just go Mary and John. How about that? That's all you need to start the project. You can go into the advanced section, choose things like a password, a date. You can even add a call to action button, etc. We're not going to do that because we don't want to overcomplicate it. So we're just going to click create. Now, the first step is going to be choosing the music. Now, we have categories here that we've broken down the music into, and it's based on a theme of sorts. So there's everything from kind of like the folky, happy music to maybe, piano, etc. for calm melodies. So here, there's quite a bit in each category. There are almost 300 licensed songs that you can use, and we're always adding more. You can preview them. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go with Happy Folk, which I know is a favorite for many people. And this song is something that a lot of people use. By the way, you can also see lyrics by clicking on lyrics.
Nice.
In case you want to make sure that it's not suggestive in the way that you want it to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to add a song. And next thing is we're going to add images. Now, you see here on the bottom, there's something called a beat matching target. And when I was making slideshows in Adobe Premiere, often what I would do is if the song has a beat, I would put markers as to where the beat changes, and then I would lay my images in a way that would have them change on the beat.
Yeah,
so
we all know that. Pressing that M key, right?
That's right. And so here we did something very, very similar, except you don't have to do any of the work. We simply tell you how many images there needs to be for them to fall on the beat. So in this case, 43 if you wanted to have more time for each image to be on the screen, or 87 if you wanted to be faster. So in this case, let's go with 43. If you wanted to learn about the requirements of what the best recommendation is, we help with all of that. But regardless of the size, the resolution, we're gonna resize the images so that they work. So in reality, you really don't have to worry about how to resize them. What do? You just upload them as is, and we figure out all of that. All right, so I'm gonna upload all of the images in this gallery. I'm not quite sure how many there are. So I'm just uploading all of them. And I didn't upload exactly the number that I needed for beat matching, because as you can see, beat matching is not turned on. If I turn it on, it will tell me, hey, in order to enable beat matching, you can do any of these things, but the one that we recommend and highlight is to delete the last two images. I'm going to say, great, I'll just click this button to delete the last two images, and now my beat matching is ready. And literally, that is everything there is to it. Yes, I can do other things like reorder the images, or delete images, or add more images. But for the most part, we wanted to make this as simple as possible. And so that's basically everything that's to it.
And you can change the transition if you want, or you can. Is it one global transition, or are you able to change transitions between two specific images?
It's one global transition per song. If I wanted to, I can add a new song, and it'll be the second song in my slideshow. But we wanted to make, again, the point of the software is not to become another Adobe Premiere.
Yeah.
The point of the software is how can we make this the easiest and simplest way to make a beautiful slideshow. And it's basically all it really is adding music, adding images. And SmartSlides automatically takes all the images and distributes them along the song so that the song ends exactly on the last image. As you can see here, we have 2.5 seconds about per slide. And if we make any change, such as deleting images or adding more images, automatically the seconds per slide is going to be adjusted so that the images and music are in congruence and one doesn't end before the other.
Got it. And then do Smart Slides and Smart Albums play well together? In other words, if I create an album and I'm happy with it, but I want to also create a matching slideshow to go with that, can I pull from the same images within the apps, or do I need to upload again into Smart Slides?
You'll need to upload again. I mean, it doesn't take very long, but you'll need to upload again because one is a web app and another is a desktop app.
Got it. Right.
But it doesn't really take time. The next step is going to be to choose the look of your landing page, essentially. This is a page to which you can send your clients. Think of it as a website, like a Squarespace website with a player in it that you can send your clients to. You can choose the look of it, the theme, and so we have multiple looks here. You can go with something that's more classic like that, or contemporary look. This is something that a lot of people like.
Yeah.
My favorite is this one. It's I like the typography in here and everything. We can also choose the background image. We can choose any of the ones that we've uploaded. We'll go with probably something like that. And that's it. The next step is to simply publish the slideshow. And as we'll see in a minute, the way that we can show the slideshow to our clients, there are many ways. We can send them the link to the slideshow directly, which this would be the link. We can also download the slideshow as a MP4 file. We can also do 4K MP4 file, or we can embed the slideshow directly on wherever you want it to be embedded, your blog, your website, etc. So so
people could download it and then put it up on YouTube if they wanted to, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Got it.
But I would recommend simply sending them this link because the way it looks is, well, it looks really, really neat. I don't know.
Nice. And if it's public, if people want to take that link and say you share it with your bride and she wants to share that on Facebook, have you guys done the whole SEO thing where it's going to show up right in the time in the feed and all that stuff? So
absolutely.
That it looks great.
Absolutely. Yep. It will.
Yeah, it's cool. So why would you put it on YouTube?
I wouldn't. But photographers have many reasons for why they might. I would say the biggest problem with video players, YouTube, Vimeo, etc., and also other slideshow programs out there that basically take your images and make a video file out of them, and then you play it in the browser. The biggest problem with video players is that they really compress your images, whereas we don't do that. This is an HTML5 slideshow, so we literally show images themselves, not them in a video format. If that makes sense. So the sharpness, the crispness, lack of artifacts is really, really, really nice here.
Yeah, you're right. Because if you throw this up on YouTube, it's going to compress it to its standards, and you may not be pleased with the results. Yeah, that is really interesting. So one last question. So is it on your roadmap to be able to allow the user to put video in the slideshow? So for example, if you showed 5 slides and they're to the beat of music, and then that ends and you have like a short 2-minute vignette with the mother of the bride, talking on camera, and then it goes back into the slideshow again. Could you do that? Could you do that inside the app today, or is it on the roadmap, or would I need to do Final Cut or Premiere?
That's definitely something that we want to do. There's no question about it. The philosophy of our company is let's do a few things really, really well,
Mm-hmm.
not like a lot of them poorly. So, at first we've tackled the most important things, the best music, making sure the images are really, really crisp, finding a way to have a beat matching feel without putting in hours of work. Now we're, looking to do other things beyond that, and then video is one of those things. So it'll be there at some point, but
It's on the roadmap, right?
yeah.
So we talked on my list. I wanted to talk about exporting. I want to end with pricing, and then before we do that, which photographers can use this? I noticed that most of the images are wedding and that sort of thing. Do you any of your clients, are they portrait and fashion type photographers, model photographers? Any other genres that are covered here?
I mean, you can do any type of photography on here. I think the tools of Slideshow and albums, they're storytelling tools.
Yeah.
So as long as you have a story to tell, a story, is typically, a set of images. It's not a single image. It's not even maybe 4 images. Typically it's a set of images, an event maybe. And so just wedding and portrait photographers are probably the most common type of photographers that tell a story. So that's why they're a big portion of our audience. But I mean, really, you can, do birthday photography here.
Yeah, no, for sure. So then you mentioned the call to action in the app, in the Slideshow app. So you could put a call to action in there, and that would lead where, like to
anywhere you want,
the main album, where
anywhere
they can purchase prints anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say that you send this as the kind of the main event. People love it. People feel emotional. You put in some music to which they can cry and make it an emotional thing. And then if you add a call to action, right here by where it says share, you'll also have a button. You can call the button anything you want. You can call it, say, buy prints, and then you can lead people to, say, a gallery where they can buy the prints that they just viewed.
Love it. Love it. Very cool, man. That is awesome. Congratulations on this app.
Thank
it
you.
is fantastic. Thanks. So here's the $1 million, no pun intended, question.
Mm-hmm.
How much for SmartAlbums? How much for SmartSlides?
$1 million, but there's a sale for almost 99% off.
Nice.
Just for you guys.
Just for TWIP, huh?
Yeah. If you go onto our website, basically for SmartSlides, you're starting at $8 a month, and for SmartAlbums, it's very similar. It's $9 a month. Well, oh, sorry. This is for people who own past versions of SmartAlbums.
Okay.
For those that don't, it's $16 a month. And then if you want everything, cloud proofing included, and again, cloud proofing is a way to send your album to your client. Everything is for $32 a month. So you get SmartAlbums, you get cloud proofing, and you get SmartSlides Studio, which is on its own $32. So basically, you get SmartSlides Studio, which has unlimited slideshows, 4K download, and you get SmartAlbums cloud proofing for free, essentially.
Wow. Cool. And if you're using this as part of your business, then this is, one client is going to absorb the fee for this, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Especially with slideshows, it's more of a marketing tool where you use it to wow your clients, to get more referrals, etc. And for albums, it's a straight, sales tool, essentially. So by selling an album, you can cover multiple years of this.
Yeah. No, fantastic, man. So what's next then? This looks really
Awesome.
good, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, what's next for what's the next smart piece of software we're going to see?
I don't know if we'll see any new software. Right now, our focus is to improve what we've made, SmartAlbums and SmartSlides. Sometimes people have the feeling, well, you made the product. What else can you be working on? What else can 30 people be doing every day, all day?
Yeah.
You got to improve. There are more things that our users want and that we want to add. even yourself, you'd like to have video in it. I mean, that takes a lot of work, takes a lot of people. So right now, we're not focusing on any new projects. We're about improving what we have made to make it even better.
Love it, man. Love it. All right. Well, cool. Now I have renewed enthusiasm to dive in and play with it. So
Awesome.
that is really cool. All right. So if people want to check it out, what's the location they should go to sign up and download and do all that fun stuff?
Yeah, Pixellu.com. I mean, if you can't remember that, SmartAlbums.com or SmartSlides.com will lead you to the same place. You can always Google us. If you Google album creation software or slideshow for professional photographers, we're #1 in both categories. So we're everywhere on the interwebs.
Awesome. All right. Daniel Usenko, thank you so much, man, for coming on. I appreciate
Awesome.
it. And
Thanks.
again, congratulations on what you guys are doing for the photography space. You classic entrepreneur, you identified a need, built something that was irresistible and put it out there, and and hopefully you guys are going to crush it. So yeah,
Thanks, man.
congrats.
Appreciate it. Thank
Cool.
you. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll see you in the next one, man. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
This is TWIP.